introduction of the commissioners present. My name is Gerald Simmons. I'm here. The other commissioners should do the same. Cynthia Hunt.
I'm here.
Daniel Mather, present.
And I understand we're going to be joined shortly by Bill Hugas. The minutes from the February meeting have been presented to the commission. I would hope that everyone had an opportunity to see those. If that's the case, we need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. It's Daniel Mather will second.
Any discussion? All in favor of adopting the minutes of the February meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we want to do a, did you want to do a roll call?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
we
ahead and
need
do
to
the
do
roll call. Sure.
Okay, Cynthia Hunt? Aye. Daniel Mather?
Yep, here.
Jerry Simmons?
Aye, here.
Bill Hugas?
Aye.
Hi, Bill.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm looking at the agenda, and I see no staff approvals. So we'll move on to the application for certificates of appropriateness. Connie, if you want to get started on that.
Did you do the staff approvals? Sorry.
There are staff approvals, Jerry.
Oh, the copy that I have do not, it says no staff approvals. Sorry.
Well, they're not listed on the outline, no.
Well, I don't
There
have
they
any
are.
staff approvals.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to do two things at once. This was the staff approvals from the February meeting that was canceled. You weren't there, so just need to.
Let me get that. All right, there are two staff approvals.
I move to approve. I've already reviewed them.
Is there a second for that?
I will second.
Any discussion about the move to approve the staff approvals? Want to call the roll, please?
Cynthia Hunt? Approved. Daniel Mather?
Approved.
Bill Hugas?
Approved.
Jerry Simmons?
Approved. With that, we have the staff, we have the regular, the first one is, number one is BD 21-03-00175 West Catha Street. I don't know if we have any representatives of that, the first applicant here or not.
This actually was moved to staff approval, so that has been discussed at the business meeting, and that recommendation has been issued.
So it's already been approved?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Item number two, BD 21-03-002 514 to 518 South High Street. Copious building. Are the applicant or any representative of the applicant here?
Yes.
Would you please, whoever is here, would you please identify yourself?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Mike Shannon on behalf of the applicant. We have our development team here, Dan Haynes, our project architect, Randy Black, our preservation consultant, as well as Jamie Overschlock, who's in-house architect for Shift Capital, as well as the project manager.
Are all of them going to participate in this discussion?
I believe myself, Mr. Haynes, and Randy Black definitely will. Jamie as needed.
Let's all of you raise your right hands then, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Connie, go ahead.
First, I wanted to just raise an issue. I was going to try to quickly go back and look. I was thinking of this as a conceptual review because it's the first review of a large large development, and but I'm not sure if that's what was actually on the application. It's not what I actually put it on here. I meant to put it under conceptual review, so that's just to introduce that, and you can discuss that. So this is for the demolition of a rear portion of the existing two-story brick commercial building. The facade of the building facing onto Blankner Street to be retained. And as I put it on here, first conceptual review for a new multi-use development at the northwest corner of High and Blankner Streets, with a 6-story addition to be added to the rear west elevation of the existing 2-story brick commercial building. 2 levels of parking, 1 below grade and 1 street level, to provide approximately 69 parking spaces, and also to include 5,000 square feet of retail space and 50 to 60 units, consisting of townhouse walk-ups on Pearl Street and 5 levels of apartment units above the parking structure. So the site includes a circa 1927 2-story brick commercial building and a surface parking lot located on the south side of East Blankner Street. And the lot extends from South High Street to Pearl Street at the eastern edge of the Brewery. At the eastern edge of the Brewery District. On the east, the proposed 2-story townhomes on the west side of South Pearl Street face onto 2-story historic dwellings on the east side of South Pearl Street, which are located in German Village Historic District. On the north, surface parking lots are currently north of the site, along the north side of East Street, in the Brewery District, and also in German Village Historic District across the street. On the south, a brick 2-story commercial building, 536 South High, and a surface parking lot are south of the site in the same block. And structures on the west side of High Street include a mix of modern and historic 1 to 2-story commercial buildings. The proposed height and scale are a concern in regard to the surrounding architectural character and application of current code and guidelines. In the surrounding blocks, there are a number of 3 to 3.5-story historic buildings, with the Hoster Brewery being the tallest historic building at 5 stories. Some 4-story modern office buildings and a couple of 5-story garages have been approved by the Brewery District Commission. A 10-story office building was approved immediately adjacent to the 12-story Grange building farther down the street. That was circa 1976 that the 12-story was built prior to the commission. A 12-story garage office is at 500 South Front Street, was prior to the commission. Also predates the Brewery District Commission and guidelines. The Brewery District was established in 1993 and the guidelines in 1997. There are numerous surface parking lots and 1 to 4-story non-contributing buildings along and surrounding South High Street in the northern tier of the Brewery District. Careful consideration must be given to the possible future development of these surface lots and the non-contributing building sites while determining the appropriate height and scale for the proposed project.
Who is going to be speaking for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this is Mike Shannon. I'll be uncharacteristically brief. Mr. Chairman, because you may find this interesting. After this is my 39th year practicing law, and I recently had an epiphany that when it comes to the architectural review commissions, the more I speak, the less our chances of approval. So I call that the rule of inverse proportionality. So I'm going to be turning it over in large part to our architect, Dan Haynes. Excuse me. I am mindful that one member was not present for the Business Commission meeting, and we have supplemented that original packet. Before turning it over to Dan, this is a conceptual presentation, Connie, you are correct. We will have a application forthcoming with a lot more detail after today's meeting. At that time, we will address the zoning issues. I just briefly want to mention that the site is in the C4 district. It is in a 60-foot height district, which indicates to reasonable minds that they anticipated multi-story development on this site. Our building height is at 84 feet, so that obviously would require a height variance. Also, since we're in the C4 district, I think one of the most interesting aspects of the proposed development are the townhouses that would face east towards Pearl. Because those residences are on the ground floor of the C4 district, that would require a variance. So you'd have a height variance, a use variance to allow residences on the ground floor. Parking, we are providing a significant amount of parking on site. It depends on how we actually program the first floor for retail vis-a-vis restaurant, whether or not a parking variance will be necessary. And that information would be submitted in our next application in greater detail. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dan Haynes, who could walk you through the presentation, and then he's going to hand off to Randy Black at the appropriate time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So look, as we're seeing on this slide here, and then to the next one, I think one of the keys as we started looking at this project was trying to find a way to get a what we think is an appropriate density for this corridor on High Street in relationship to sort of the existing building that's there. We can go to the next slide here. One of the key situations that was in existence, and we saw some of the images at the beginning of the presentation, of what is now the Copious restaurant. It's had many uses over the time of this existing building and its fabric. And we thought it was going to be pretty critical that, you know, the High Street facade and the Blinkner Street facade are contributing to this neighborhood, that we'd retain those, but portions in the back. And I'm going to have Randy speak to this a little bit more in detail about taking some of those away, so we can integrate this development with the overall block so that we can use the overall depth of the block. So I'm going to let Randy sort of jump in here and speak to kind of his findings on this.
This is Randy speaking.
Welcome
can you hear
back,
me?
Randy.
Good
Welcome
to
back.
see you. Good to see you, Jerry. I've been working with the team with regard to preservation components here, and I think the important piece is to look at, I've looked at both the Brewery District Plan, which was developed some time ago, as well as the guidelines, and my sense of what applies here is a bit different than the standard residential approach from a preservation standpoint. Although the backing up on the east elevations, it backs up to Pearl. The High Street corridor component here, I think, does apply the standards in accordance with the existing guidelines and with the existing plan that's been in place for some time. And it's important to note that the plan combines preservation and rehabilitation of old, which this attempts to do. The loss of the east elevation and a bit of the incorporation into the north elevation, the west elevation, the commercial corridor component that's existing, as well as the Blanker Street north elevation is being retained. And again, this is just a conceptual piece, hoping to get a sense of the Commission's view of how this applies to the standards, how this applies to your guidelines. And it's important to point out that the infill on an existing surface lot is a strong objective of all of the historic preservation standards. The notion of heights and massing and setbacks is always applies, but the loss of a surface lot is appropriate, and it's especially appropriate given the fact, in my mind, that parking on site, underground and at level, is a part of the plan. So that's it, kind of in a nutshell, from a preservation, from my preservation view.
Great. Thanks, Randy. So if we could maybe just jump back a little bit, Connie, thank you so much. So we could even start at this exterior elevation. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to maintain the fabric that's happening along High Street, and not sort of impose on it. And I think that the notion of having it, I don't know if you would call it wedding cake or set back so that the mass is sort of mid-block versus at the front piece of the block. But we were also, and so that larger portion of the building, you know, we've got a level of parking and a subterranean level of parking that's happening there. And then on top of that, we have 5 levels of residences. But instead of just having that parking end onto the face and that full mass that's ending upon Pearl Street, we thought it would be appropriate and advantageous if we could go to the next slide. If you know, you can kind of see even the next one as well too, that the building steps back and we introduce townhouses along the Pearl Street side, which would have doors that would be in relationship to the residences that are happening the other side of the building. Also of note is that we've retained in this proposal, concept proposal, the facade of the Blinkner Street side, and we've notched it back so that we can have a clear delineation between the old structure and the new structure as well too. And you know, the key is sort of we've been playing with scale and color and materials so that we're trying to find a good blend with the existing facades and sort of addressing the old versus the new of the buildings as well too. So I think the images and planning kind of speaks for themselves, and I'd be willing to sort of open it up to questions more than me to continue to ramble here.
This is Commissioner Hugus. I think you've done an excellent job at the first conceptual here. In my mind, I'd be much more comfortable with a 5-story than a 6 to keep it within the 60 parameter. In general, I think the northern tier deserves to be treated differently than the southern tier in terms of heights and massing. We've allowed exceptions to the guidelines. Sherwin-Williams Paint is a 1-story building where it's flanked by multiple stories, buildings on each side. So I think there's room. I think there's room for me to accept this bulk. Probably the biggest thing will be the details of the building addition, and whether you go matching or contrasting is probably a judgment of the architect, not of us. I think we have accepted both directions on various buildings in the district. So
sure. I think if you don't mind me sort of adding to that, I think that what we were trying to do, since we're incorporating that existing retail, and we may even find a way to use the second level of that for some possible amenities for the residences themselves. We are hoping to sort of keep of the same language, but so, you know, trying to find a brick that sort of is matching, but having the details of the new piece to be a little bit more contemporary and sort of how the windows are placed and that piece than from the existing piece. So I think we're trying to be somewhat prescriptive in these conceptual images, but if there are, you know, additional feedbacks from these images, we'd love to hear them that we could, you know, work on to get ready for the full submission.
it appears how many numbers.
Excuse me, Bill, just a second. Something I thought of. Mr. Chair, if Daniel Mather was going to recuse himself, should he
Yes.
state that? Has stated
Yes,
that? And
I am going to recuse myself because this Columbus Architectural Studio is my employer.
thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the parking situation you're providing. This is not like the Pizzuti development at Giant Eagle. It's not in the same context. It's completely different, and you're providing, it appears to be providing 1 car per unit, living unit, which I appreciate. Most of these units appear right now to be 1 bedrooms, which would line up with that formula pretty well. You're eliminating the notes basement commercial space, which will alleviate some of that, help the parking situation as well. I think it's a good first stab. I also appreciate you stepping back the Pearl Street side with and adding those 3 residential units for the benefit of that street.
Bill, could I ask you a question?
Sure.
In the fact that the guidelines prefer 60 feet rather than 84, I don't see a great deal of difference. Are you just saying that because that's what the guidelines say, or do you have some architectural reason for saying that?
It's just a gut. It's not really related to that, but I could live with 6 stories. I think 5 would be better, but that's just my view on it. It depends on how much pushback.
I actually think what the attorney was referring to, Jerry, is the zoning. The guidelines actually Connie provided to us in her report, and they say should follow new construction in an area where there's a mixture of building types should follow the existing pattern. New buildings should be compatible with contributing buildings within the immediate area. If all the structures in the area of the site are 2-story residential, it would not be appropriate to propose a 4-story commercial structure. That is actually what's in the guidelines.
I understand that.
Yeah, I know. I was saying that to Jerry, not you.
Yeah.
Bill.
Thank you.
And while, like Bill, I really appreciate the sensitivity to the existing building, the townhouse backup, the parking, as Bill has cited, I'm actually thinking I am not comfortable with anything more than 4 stories. I'm very worried about the imposition of a looming construction monolith on our neighboring historic district. And I think we have to be sensitive to the impact on them as well as the impact on the block.
Bill, can you try to get your video going, please?
Oh, it isn't? My video says it's going.
I can see him.
Okay.
He's probably to the right, Connie.
No, it's disappeared.
No, it's not coming through on me for me either.
Is it appearing, Jerry?
No, until she said that, you were. I had you there, and now it's gone.
That's weird. You can hear me, obviously.
Yes. I guess we know what you look like.
And we
You don't want to see me today anyway.
we recognize your voice. I just wanted to make it clear.
Sure. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. The video section bar on the bottom, the mute's working, but the video isn't, evidently. So I apologize.
Yeah, it had been. I saw you the whole time. If I could jump into the discussion, not only as a member of the commission, but as someone who lives in the neighborhood. And if you look at the drawings, the building immediately south of this building, as a matter of fact, the 2 windows closest to Copious are my office. As a resident, as someone who works immediately next door, I have no objection whatever to 6 stories. And the way I feel about it right now, I would vote in favor of 6 stories, for whatever that's worth.
We've all kind of stated our position.
Connie, would you read Jeff Pagonis's letter that was sent around? He couldn't attend the meeting tonight.
I didn't receive a letter from Jeff.
Neither did I.
I did. Hold on. Can I send it? No. Let's see if I can I send it to Connie? Will you get it?
Yes.
All right.
Did he send that out today, Bill?
And it's copied. It it shows it's copied, just Jerry and I. So I just forwarded it to Connie. To make it short and sweet, Mr. Shannon, I'm surprised it took you 39 years to figure out short presentations are best. At any rate, he indicates general support as the conceptual was shown, and the only issue is whether you treat it more contemporary or try to blend it. That's the short and sweet of the letter.
The reason I'm not saying it, I'm looking for his letter. I don't see it here. There it is.
You got it?
Yeah.
It's just an email. It's not an actual attached letter.
No, that's correct. I don't know why you didn't send it to Connie.
Yeah, I agree with what Jeff wrote.
Dan Haynes
Yes.
had the top floor is going to have some pretty fabulous views. Have you considered some kind of balcony outdoor spaces for some of the units, especially looking over the rooftops of German Village? Just it has nothing to do with us. I'm just giving
Sure.
a comment.
Yeah, no, I think that would be sort of good consideration. You know, in this facade, you can kind of see two inset balconies already.
Is that what that dark vertical?
Yeah. So
Okay.
coming down the middle there, we had those. And on top of the parking structure, we had also placed an outside
Yeah, I saw that.
patio zone that you can see in the images
Yeah.
as well, too.
And that's south facing, so that'll be very pleasant
Right.
to be out there.
Mhm. And, you know, we whether we have amenity space on here or in the Copious building, I think that's still up for decision.
Yeah.
And one thing that I'm not sure if it bears on this commission as well, too, but, you know, we have been looking at a 1 or 2 number of market rate housing and sort of that sort of scenario into this as well, too, sort of following city guidelines.
If I could ask you to speak, Cynthia said that she prefers 4 stories. Bill says that he prefers 5, and I'm okay with 6. Do you have any comment on that?
Well, I could live with Jerry with 6. It just depends on some of the final details, I think.
But just to give him some idea of what as this is a concept review, you have any response to that, Mr. Haynes?
Yeah, I think that sort of looking at sort of the isometric that we showed in the area, that I think that, you know, there are larger scale buildings through here, and I personally think that, you know, and I live just a little bit south on Pearl myself, so I'm conscious of this kind of stuff, but, you know, having some actual sensitive developments in the area, I think that matches that, and I think 6 stories doesn't seem too overbearing. I mean, into this piece, especially since we tried to step that down there on Pearl Street. We've sort of wedding cake this stuff up. So, you know, instead of having the parking lots there, I would think that this would be sort of an improvement to the folks across the way.
I think the number of residential units will be an improvement to the traffic on High Street too, for the businesses.
Yeah, I think there's much to be celebrated. I think there's much to be celebrated with this design, and I try to indicate that. But in terms of does it feel monolithic or not, I think, you know, that's in the eye of the reviewer. I feel pretty strongly about context. So it doesn't take away from what is very good about this design.
Thank you.
I'm not at all disturbed by the mass of the building. There are buildings all around within several blocks that are same size.
There's nothing on the immediate east corridor and next to the other historic district, which is my issue.
I sit in my office.
If it were on High Street,
Cynthia, I sit
if
in
it
my
were
office
right on
and I
High
look out
Street,
my window, I sit in my office and look out the window and I'm immediately next door and there are buildings that are just like this.
Hey, Jerry, I appreciate that. I don't think it's the right thing for the Eastern Corridor of Pearl. So that's my opinion. I'm comfortable with other parts of the
Well, the
district.
Chipotle building is technically 4 stories. If you look at their layout closely, you can't see the 4th story very easily. So there
Which is why I'm thinking 4 stories.
exceptions to our poorly written guidelines. I've said for years we should be rewriting these, and I do think the northern tier of this corridor deserves more special consideration, much like the short north did with their guidelines.
I point out Chipotle building is 4 stories, which I think is right, but the back end of the Chipotle building bordering Pearl Alley is not. So
Correct.
It's not that monolithic. It's not that monolithic construct right there. I applaud a lot about this. I hope you guys know that. I'm having trouble with that one dimension. And we all can agree to disagree.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, Mike Shannon, that's actually the purpose of this meeting, being conceptual, and it allows the candid exchange between the commissioners, between themselves, and with us. So I respect your position, Member Hunt, and I hear you. We're going to continue to tweak before we submit this for final approval, which I know means multiple meetings probably, but we'll try to integrate what we can. The one thing, Connie, that I did not see, and maybe it was in the slideshow, do you have a view of the existing conditions on the side of Copious right now?
Yes, it's in the package.
Could we see that?
Actually, it's Belkis who is sharing the photos, and not me. So.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay. She's helping out.
Keep going. Then there we go.
There you go.
So
one before that,
the one before that.
the other way.
No, other way. There you go.
That's it.
I do think it sometimes helpful to look at what's there now compared with what it could be. And the picture speaks for itself. Thank you for bringing up the picture.
Yeah. As your immediate neighbor, I really appreciate what you're doing.
And how much exactly is being taken off? Well, I'm not sure if we had a measurement of that. Is it 20 feet or something like that?
What was shown in that demo drawing, the piece that we are removing is a little over 12 feet in the back depth.
Is it the back deck that you're removing? That's all?
It's the back deck. It's sort of some elevators. It's really just so that it's really what allowed us to get those townhouses in. That was sort of the purpose of trying to get that is, as much as we wanted to actually have the mass up on High Street, there was a contributing building that was there. So, as much as we can move it forward, I think will benefit us. So
yeah,
we went to a bearing wall that allowed the structure to sort of be split, and that's sort of where we picked at that point.
Yeah, gotcha.
Hey, Cynthia, would you be more comfortable with 6 stories if they set the upper stories back more from Pearl?
Yes.
I'm not sure it's possible.
I would even be willing to entertain some integration with the existing building. And that may be horrific, but I've seen some interesting stuff in other cities where they go out over an existing building and showcase it somewhat. I just like to see the whole thing move forward. It's really the impact on the street and the other historic district that I'm worried about.
When you say move forward, Cynthia, I'm not following. What move?
Move the mass of the building more toward High Street.
Oh, okay.
Or to Bill's point, the upper floors. I would even be comfortable with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Mr. Shannon, will you be the next submittal will be all about the variances and the numbers that we have to go through?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And Bill, what details do you want to see fleshed out? You and Jeff want to see fleshed out more information. I know Jeff is thinking streetscape along Pearl, I think, primarily, and the elevations and materials and stuff like that. What are you thinking?
Well, I think a streetscape view of Pearl to show the scale differentiation might be helpful to us, although as an architect, I'm well aware that sometimes you don't want to show certain things. But I think that would be helpful for some of the commissioners.
Could be. Cool.
Is there anything else?
Is there anything else? Yeah, I don't think so. Nothing for me.
I have nothing more. Bill?
Well, I'm sure Dan will come up with some interesting materials and details for us to review. I do think it's going to be all about the details for me, but it's a very positive first step.
I think it's a very excellent
I concur.
project.
I concur, and I appreciate you guys listening and look forward to the new proposal.
Thank you for your time very much. We'll see you.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, is the time to move to old business now, Connie?
Yes, at the business meeting, I was requested to put the discussion of the possible incorporation of some Brewery District commissioners into the HRC on the agenda, so I did that. I put it on under public forum, but if you...
We appreciate that. I'd like to ask the other commissioner, there are just three of us here. Is this the time to do that? I would like,
Dan can be back
I'm here.
on
I'm
There are
here.
4 of us, yeah.
we're four now, yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Do we want to discuss that tonight, or do you want to wait till we get everybody together?
It would be nice to have everybody, but that seems like a tall order at this point.
Yeah. I still don't quite understand the efficiencies that it will create. I know HRC is busy, and we historically have not been busy, but I project that we're going to become busy once I'm off the commission, probably. But I'm still personally not convinced this is a good move right now. I'm not sure we shouldn't be studying all the commissions and seeing what we can group together. I don't know.
Well, let me just say this. I'm going to be leaving the commission probably sometime this summer, so I won't even be around when we finish when they vote on the project we just discussed. This project, it seems, emphasizes to me. I'm not an architect. I don't know very much about architecture, but I do live in the district. And for instance, I am right next door to the Copious building, and I think it's important for someone like me who has to live and work there every day and every night to be able to have some kind of an input into what goes on in the place where I live and work. If the Brewery District Commission is disappears in favor of the other commission, I think we might lose the flavor of local people who have to live and work in the area, having input into what happens to where they live and work. I think that's really important, and that's the reason that I am very hesitant to think that the Brewery District Commission should go away. And I'm not going to be here after June, so but whoever takes my place, I hope it's someone that lives here. I hope it's someone that has local ties, because I think the input of the people who live and work in the area are very important to the area.
I'll respond to both of your points. Bill, to your point, maybe I'm just too green, but I sort of take the city at its word. and that it'll create efficiencies if the Brewery District is folded into the area review. I'm sorry, the Historic Preservation or the Historic Review Board or whatever it's called.
HRC.
Resource Commission.
HRC.
HRC, right. Resource Commission.
If the city says that it's going to be helpful for the city, I feel like I have to believe it. And then to Jerry, your point, I agree that having local residents on the boards is always a benefit. I just wonder if our recommendation would be going forward, if this commission is to be dissolved, that the HRC have be staffed or have volunteers on it, I should say, that have residencies in the areas which under their purview. Sorry for the word jumble.
That's good. That's a good
How
word.
many members are on HRC currently, Connie?
There are 7. We have 5 at the moment.
But there's 7 legal appointments
Yeah,
available.
Yeah.
Are
And they
they
can
a mix-
There are a
come.
lot,
Are
there
they
are a
a
lot more
mix of
places.
architects, lawyers, business people, residents, or probably not
Yeah.
residents because they go all over the city?
Yeah, but we have had people on the commission who lived in Old Beachwald or other districts, but they don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we do have architects, contractors, preservation professionals, planners. We don't have a lawyer at the moment. We have in the past. So it's a mix, I mean, it's in their bylaws.
Okay.
And
are they appointed by the mayor, all of them?
Yes,
I mean, I know the mayor's office has to review them and send them off to city council, but is the mayor in charge of appointing all 7?
Yes. Just like any other commission.
Well, that's not true.
I would like to
because
offer. Go ahead.
German
I
Village
thought you were done.
has 1. The society gets 1 appointment.
Yeah. You're right. And so does Italian and Victorian.
And do we have any on Brewery that are
Brewery
part of
doesn't no. Brewery doesn't have a sort of a society that recommends.
Right.
And neither does HRC. But I mean, you can, like, we have someone who has a building a business downtown that's listed on the National Register, and he owns a lot of properties that he works on himself.
Sure.
We have an architect, we have a contractor, we have a planner, and she's a preservation consultant. So, and they are, it's not like because they don't live in the districts that they're not dedicated to all of the historic districts that they cover.
Okay.
They certainly are.
I'd like to offer my comments
Sure.
before we wrap up everybody else's. I am not supportive for the following reasons. I think the Brewery District deserves to have a commission because there's a lot of activity coming that's going to need support and help. I don't think it's our job to make judgments on the city's efficiencies. I think that's their job. And I think if they came back to us and said, we need to do this for efficiencies, it's not our job to second guess them one way or the other. It's our job to say, we'll support you. So I would support if that was the rationale, but I don't want to make a judgment about it. But ultimately, our job is to support the neighborhood, and I think we do a good job of that. And I think shutting down the commission would not be as efficacious for the neighborhood as having a commission.
Yeah.
So that's where I am.
And the last item that we just did is an example of that. I'm a resident, and my office is immediately next door, and so I have a stake in this.
Jeff is a business owner. Bill and I live very within I live within 2 blocks. So I mean,
Daniel is
we all
Village too.
Yeah, we all carry that responsibility.
So we would hate to lose that, I think.
That's such a good point and so very well said. And it makes me realize that the city may be prioritizing the city's operations ahead of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I feel. At the same point, I'm a business person who gets the game, right? So
Yeah.
if it's really a requirement, I'm willing to support it, but it would not be my first choice.
As I understand, I got a letter today or a message today from Jamie, and he's going to be at our March 18th meeting. He's probably going to want to talk about this some more.
Fair enough.
Oh, I'm sure.
I've
I'm
had
sure.
conversations with him one-on-one, and I just, the timing is puzzling to me at this point. They're just starting to do a major review of zoning finally, which we desperately need in the brewery. Of course, there's so much
Absolutely.
residential that's zoned industrial.
Including, Bill, the boundary state of the historic districts, especially when they're next to each other. I'm going to say that as cleanly as I can.
Well, that's a good point. But I think I understand why they're not proposing to fold us into German Village Commission, because I think that commission is so detail oriented about every I'm there every month pretty much, and they will talk endlessly over a fence detail that is in somebody's side yard. So I can't see them being able to tackle commercial projects as readily as any other group or we do. So.
And Bill, I can answer that a little bit. I think I was talking to Cynthia about this, that the Historic Resources Commission was, and I'm not, this is just to give you information. I'm really wanting you guys to just talk about this because that's what you wanted to do. The Historic Resources Commission was, established before the Brewery District Commission.
Right.
And I'm not sure why the Brewery District Commission was established, because the Historic Resources Commission was established to cover any new historic districts that came after that.
Oh.
So I'm not sure why the Brewery District didn't just automatically go into Historic Resources Commission. That's probably some,
if Randy Black were still in the meeting,
some of the, no,
he
wouldn't have been, I don't think you're really involved at that time, but maybe, I don't know. But that might have been some of the discussions people were having at that, what's that restaurant in, that all the big wigs discussed in the Brewery District there. What was the name of that? Was Claremont?
Oh,
That's why. That's why. All historic districts that came after that, and that would be established now, would go automatically to the Historic Resources Commission. No new commissions would be established.
The other thing, though, I resonate with Bill's comments on is it doesn't feel as though just plucking out Brewery District Commission is the right thing to do. At least I haven't heard a rationale for it that makes sense. It does feel as though it should be an overarching review of the various commissions, their operations, their efficiencies, their ability to do an effective job, and then maybe restructuring in a way that makes sense for the city.
And that was done, like, it was 10 years ago or something like that. And it's just, I think people are just in place right now who are actually acting on it. So that actually has been done in the past.
They probably need to publish that somewhat, some of the information out of that.
I would say it might be time for a
refresh
refresh
to the residents too, because I can see some residents getting pretty upset over not understanding and not knowing what the parameters are. So I don't know. It's a tough one.
I just can't get over and maybe I'm an outlier here, but maybe I'm completely wrong, but we're probably the least busy of all the commissions, and I keep thinking that's the reason, but maybe it's not.
Do you know that, Jerry?
No, I don't know. It's just a gut feeling.
Jerry, that's my assumption as well.
Yeah, me too.
Again, if we knew that, it might help.
Well,
if the
Jamie will be
city
at our
came forward
business
and said,
meeting.
here are the factual data-based reasons why we are making this recommendation, that I think would help some people. But again, I focus on representing the neighborhood. I've already said that.
Cynthia, do you plan on being at the business meeting on the 18th?
Yes. Sorry, I missed the last one.
Yeah, Jamie indicated to me today that he would be at the 18th. Maybe we can ask him then.
Okay.
Good.
Is there any further discussion?
I don't think so.
I just have a question. I don't want to take up too much time. I don't understand what the city expects from us. I don't understand the process
You mean on this topic?
on this topic. Yeah.
I have always had the sense that Jamie would like us all to say we agree and therefore it'd be a seamless transition.
Yeah, he's asked us if we will pass a resolution backing the dissolution of the brewery district.
And to him, that would mean that the brewery district agrees and that's kind of a free pass. I mean, I just don't, why don't they just shut it down? I don't understand.
They have the
Mandate
power
it,
to do
right.
that. He wants us to tell the city council it's okay with us.
Right. Mr. Shannon, you just
Yeah,
set
I
up on
think
video.
that's
Is there
probably
something
more
going
of a
on?
political decision on their part, not.
And this is why I'm not a politician. I just wish they'd do it. We're talking in circles in a sense. We have no real power here.
I mean, the reality is it's like us recommending variances to city council. They can do whatever they damn well please
Yeah.
anytime. I mean, it's just more of a courtesy, and it'll make their job, I think, a little easier if we're all in agreement.
Well, I think, Jamie
And
can
just set up on
answer all those
video.
questions on the 18th
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for him, so, or
Right.
Mark,
Does Mr.
or
Shannon
the
just set
director.
up on video? Is there a reason?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I believe that this is an internal discussion and I don't want to interlope.
Go ahead.
I do have a sense of history, having run what was the Department of Building and Zoning Services back in 87 through 92.
I remember that, Mr. Shannon.
And I am a recovering politician, having served 16 years as the city attorney.
You'll never recover, Mike.
Why am I not surprised? I did not know that.
But I believe, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to say it. I believe the inception of the brewery district really started with the investments of the Edwards family in that Front Street corridor. I also think they took a look around at some of the contributing structures that were down there. The one that comes to mind is Wasserstrom. I'm sorry, because of its proximity to my former office.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that every project they've taken through the brewery district has been a better project for that. And you guys know me. I don't usually, I'm not known for capitulating. And I don't get easy cases. But I do think because of the scope of what you guys do, I can't say what Mr. Hugo said about the German Village Area Commission because they have most wanted posters out for me already. But I would echo his sentiments. I gotta say for the record, I hold the HRC in the highest regard. I mean, they are top shelf. But politics to me is fundamentally a local phenomenon. And to
Agreed.
me, politics is the art of being polite, which this board has achieved in the 2 decades I've been before it. And it does, with all due respect to other architecture review commissions, it does stand out for that approach. And I'm trying not to say anything. There's no reporters online. I know these tapes are available, but I wanted to listen to this discussion because, having been around as long as I have, I heard this urban legend 3 years ago. And so I could never second guess the administration. I don't know what the motivations are, nor is it my place. But I just want to tell you from an old war horse who's been through the battles that I see the value. I do think that the people you serve would not be as well served if there wasn't a brewery district commission. And I just felt compelled to say that. It may come back to haunt me, but you know what? I got an Irish clad asset that serves me well. So I'm going to bow out unless anybody wants to give me hell. And
Well,
I have a question for you.
yes, sir.
You willing to put that in letter form and send it to us?
Yes, sir.
Could you do that?
And yes, and I will do that in honor of my father, Joe Shannon, because you're the only one of the few practicing attorneys that would still remember Big Joe. And
Very well.
he thought the world of you, Mr. Simmons. So I will put that in writing. I'll probably have to tone it down and get approval of all my partners. But I will stick to the script and say what I believe. And nobody else has asked my opinion. You didn't ask my opinion, but I'm sitting here feeling like I should say something. So thanks for entertaining my thoughts. I don't,
Thank you.
believe it or not, I have no ulterior motive at this juncture. I'll come up with one later. But
Okay.
you all have a great afternoon, and thanks for letting me just share something from the heart. Have a great day.
Thank you.
thank you.
With that, does that conclude our business for the evening? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Hugus.
Is there a second?
Mather will second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Could you call the roll, Connie? Could you call the roll so we could vote?
You're on,
Sorry,
you're on mute.
I was
Connie.
muted. I was muted. Cynthia
Yeah.
Hunt, Daniel Mather,
Enthusiastic aye.
Bill Hugus,
Yes.
Jerry Simmons.
Yes.
Okay, adjourning at 5:05. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
See you in a,
much.
see you in a
Thank
couple
you.
weeks.
Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
You too.
Thanks, Stephanie and Belkis.
You're welcome.